Hello, everyone.
Hi guys, this is episode 3 in our series of our Philippine journey, and all these videos for the Philippine journey can be found in a playlist separated from the rest of our videos named Our Philippine Journey. So in episode 1, we talked about my first visit to the Philippines
Yeah.
and how I enjoyed myself. And at that point, that first trip never entered my mind, and I'm sure not your mind either,
No.
that we were going to retire to the Philippines. So that episode is out there for you to watch. Episode 2 was our next 3 visits, so visits 2, 3, and 4, and how we continue to enjoy ourselves with the visit. We always spent most of the time in Leyte, where Wilma is originally from, and stayed in her house. And again, we had a master bedroom and a bath there for us. And the plan was just every, 2, 3, 4 years throughout our lifetimes, just visit the Philippines. That was the original plan. And then in that second episode, I talked about how when I got back from the 4th visit, I proposed the $1 million question to Wilma. Do you think we could retire to the Philippines in 10 years? Because I was 45 years old at the time, and that would put me at retirement at 55. So I proposed the question, and Wilma said,
Are you sure?
I like to say it several times. The idea really came from me, and she was somewhat reluctant. Now she's happy. That we're relaxing and enjoying ourselves and got our house built. But that was basically how it went down. So now here in episode 3, I want to talk about those 10 years.
Yeah.
So now, we're in the United States. That's my home country. We're both working. We happen to own our own home. We had a home built. Of course, we had a mortgage. So technically, the bank owned the house. But obviously, we were making all the payments. And we had 10 years of planning.
Yeah.
So, really, I want to focus on the last 5 years before we moved here. But that first 5 years, we really didn't do any major planning. It was all about saving money.
Yeah, that was our goal.
Yeah. We didn't have to think about, transferring money or bank accounts or anything like that. We just went about our business. However, always in the back of our mind for those 5 years is, hey, don't forget 2022, and that was kind of the joke. 2022, we're moving to the Philippines. So we just basically molded our life to some degree based off of, we always would call it a must-have versus a want.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted that Corvette. Boy, did it look nice.
Yeah.
Our good neighbor across the street had a Corvette. Man, how great it would be to buy one. We didn't do that because that's a want, and versus a must-have. So we went through the next 5 years with really just buying what we needed and just did our best to save money. Now, most people have a checking account for their bills and a savings account, for the rainy day fund. So we basically took our savings account and said, there will be no withdrawals.
No.
And I always would say to Wilma, let's stick to that rule. So obviously things come up. So, we had our checking account, leave enough money in there just in case, hey, the car breaks down. I got to put a new transmission in the car and it's $4,000. Make sure we have enough money in the checking account for that, because our rule was never to pull from our savings account, because we didn't call it a savings account anymore. We called it our Philippines retirement account.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And of course, we had our retirement. Now remember, we retired well before our retirement is available to us. So, we have that to look forward to. We both have retirement from the United States, with myself working 35 years and Wilma working 28 years. So we knew that if I was going to retire from age of 55, there was several years that we needed liquid money, liquid cash. So that's why that first 5 years it was so important
Very
to set
important.
aside money. So if you're thinking about moving to the Philippines, and of course I always say come for a visit first. Never have that trip that you sold everything and you moved to the Philippines be your first trip. Come for 30 days, come for 60 days. You guys can extend an immigration, your visa very, very easily and very cheaply. Go ahead and come and visit multiple islands, really get an idea and a flavor of the culture, the heat, the infrastructure challenges, just to make sure that is for you. You know, you wouldn't want to liquidate everything you have in your home country, meaning, you know, selling all your belongings in your house and your vehicles, and then, you know, basically you have everything in liquid cash, you move here and say, I don't like it, I want to move back. And then have to start over again,
Yeah.
and then have to pay for everything back at a premium, because of course cost always goes up. So always come for 30, 60, 90 days, as much as you can, and immerse yourself in the culture and make sure it's for you before you take that giant plunge, because it's a big deal.
It's a big move.
It's a huge move,
Yeah.
no matter what country you're coming from, and you know, it takes some guts. But we made that decision 10 years prior. So that 5 years, the first 5 years of the 10-year plan, was just to save money. We wanted to have an emergency fund or infrastructure fund or getting started fund, really all the above, because we knew we were going to live in Wilma's house for the first year. That was the plan. But we always knew in the back of our mind that we weren't going to be there full time. And we talked about adding on to the house, making the house bigger, putting on a second floor so we'd have adequate room. You know, that was a discussion. But we also said that we were going to branch out and go to local islands. And we tried to understand what islands we wanted to go to. We weren't interested in the Manila area or north of Manila. We wanted to be relatively close to the island in which she grew up, or even be on her island, because we wanted to be relatively close for business and things like that. So, you know, if you look at the map of the Philippines and you look at Leyte, you know, right around it, Cebu, Bohol, Negros Oriental, and Mindanao. So we knew that we were going to branch out to those islands. Now, we never did go to Mindanao, just because we're cautious, and some people say not to visit, just because it's not safe for foreigners to visit in Mindanao. But that's not necessarily true either. There's large portions of Mindanao that's very, very safe. But we decided that Mindanao was not going to be a destination for us. Can be for you for sure, but not for us to look to purchase land. So we knew we were going to branch out to islands, and that was always in the back of our mind. So the first 5 years, just saving money, doing the best we can to have our nest egg as big as it could possibly be. So then the last 5 years, which ended up being just 4 years because we moved a year early because of the pandemic, that's when things started getting interesting.
Yeah.
So what we did was we really put together a spreadsheet and we sat down and had a very major decision at like that 4 or 5 year point of actually retiring to the Philippines. And that was to put a dollar figure on how much money we wanted to put aside. It was a goal. And Wilma said, if we don't get to that goal, we're going to extend that 10-year plan.
Yeah.
I remember you saying that. If we don't get to a certain number of savings, we're not going. We're going to make sure we get to that point. And I really think that it was a great idea because, you know, when you move to a foreign country, there is a lot of upfront costs. You may not think so.
There's a lot.
Because you need to buy a TV, you need to buy a couch, you need to buy a bed. You know, all these things add up, not to mention a vehicle. We bought our Mitsubishi Strata. We bought an NMAX. You know, traveling. We were in a hotel,
Yeah.
you know, spending $30, $40, $50 a night after night, eating out every night. You know, even though you can, you know, eat a nice meal here for 1,000 pesos, about 20 US dollars, when you're doing it 7 days a week or 30 days out of a month, you know, it adds up.
Yeah.
And a lot of people kind of think, oh, it's really cheap,
Yeah.
but things add up. So I would only say to you is, you know, you really need to sit down and discuss with your significant other. Get some kind of a dollar figure that you're comfortable with. You know, we spent almost 8 million pesos on this house. That came from that fund.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got to think about that. So let's just say we came with 10 million pesos and, oh, that's plenty of money. Well, we spent 8 on the house, 1.1 on the truck. We spent, I don't know, about 150,000, I think 140,000 on the scooter. You know, you burn through that really, really quick, and we still have several years to go before we get to our retirement. So you really need to sit down and think about that. What we also did as we got closer is really started to think about, hey, how are we going to handle our finances? Remember, I said we had our savings account in the United States, we had our checking account in the United States, we had a debit card, and then we had 2 or 3 credit cards that we would use on a regular basis. So you would have to sit down and really think through that. Are you just going to transfer money through like Western Union or Wise or Remitly? A lot of people do that. They just transfer to a local bank or any type of a pawn shop or any type of a money handling establishment, and they just transfer, and what is it, like $6, $7 to transfer?
Yeah.
And then whatever the rate is for that day, either the rate is good or the rate is bad, and it is what it is. You transfer your money, it takes about 30 minutes to 60 minutes, and you can get, you know, a few $1,000s at a time. You know, a lot of people do that. That's not what we wanted to do, because we knew that we were going to buy land, build a house, and we needed, you know, larger chunks. So we did a couple of things. The first thing we did was we went to our bank and sat down and had an appointment with the manager and had that discussion and said, hey, you know, in a year, we're going to be moving to the Philippines. Talk to us about how to transfer our money. And if there was any issue at that bank, we just would have went to another bank. So it was a major bank in the United States, and they said, oh yeah, we have plenty of people who retired to other countries, and there's no issue whatsoever. As long as the bank that you deal with in the Philippines is affiliated with our bank, then there's no issue with wire transferring money. So we opened, once we moved here, we opened a dollar account and a peso account with a major local bank here that is affiliated with our bank in the United States. So as long as you have the banking apps, the app for your bank in your home country and the app for your banking here in the Philippines, which Wilma's the CFO of this family. She's the chief financial officer, so she has all the banking on her cell phone. And I also have all the apps uploaded on my phone as well. And not only do we have passwords that are exactly the same, we also have our fingerprint. Because if someone drops their phone in the pool, you would be without a phone, and then now you have to get a new phone and download all the apps. And you know, if you need to transfer money, it might take a while. So it's good to have 2 devices with all those apps. So that's another tip. And then you just simply transfer money at will. Our bank in the United States allows us, and most banks do, major banks, we can transfer 100,000 US dollars per day. And they charge a $5 fee for the wire transfer into our Philippine bank. Now, the Philippine bank, and that takes about one business day. It's not even a business day. It's like a half a business day. So remember, it's 12-hour difference between the Philippines and our home country in the U.S. on the East Coast. So your home country obviously would have to be a Monday through Friday business hours. They would transfer to the bank of your choice in the Philippines that day. They usually do it that day, or at least our bank does. So hopefully your bank would do the same. But then it does take time for the Philippines to accept it and then actually put the money in your account. And here's another tip. Make sure you're friends with the manager of the bank. And before you transfer any money, send them, like Wilma does, a Facebook Messenger and says, hey, we're about to transfer XYZ in the next hour. Please look out for it. Because what will happen, guys, you may not know this, when you wire money from your home country to a Philippine bank, it doesn't go to your bank, the branch. It goes to Manila, to the main bank, the main office.
The main office in Manila.
The main office, I think it's in Makati?
Pasay.
In Pasay, in Pasay.
They're gonna wait for the local branch to
Contact
them and verify, is this money legit or is this what it is for?
Right.
And
for money laundering purposes.
yes.
So let's just say it's a large sum of money, we'll even put a number on it, but it's a large sum of money. It's going to go to that major bank, the main office, if you will, which I would imagine all the major banks is in Manila. I could be wrong there, but our bank happens to be in Manila. It's going to go there and sit. And it could sit, I think the first time it sat there a week before we figured out that we needed to get involved. So get ahead of it and know the local branch, which at the time happened to be Leyte.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, we just transferred XYZ, and then what they'll do is they'll contact through email that main office and say, yes, it's legit. And then when it gets wired in, it gets moved right over that day. So you could cut it down from like 7 days down
to 1 day. Yeah.
Just by getting ahead of it and
it's proactive.
Being proactive and getting hold of the manager. So there is a video that we did about transferring money. It's in our playlist, and we get into more detail about how we actually transfer money. But we actually have our U.S. account, and then we have our Philippine account, dollar and peso account, and then we wire it into a dollar account, let it sit there until we feel comfortable that the dollar to peso rate is good. Like they say here in January, it's going to go over 56. So we're holding. It gets to 56, 56 and a half. We'll transfer at that point. If you're using like Remitly or Western Union and you transfer on a down day and it happens to be dips down to 54, that's what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And they never give you the going rate. They always take a little off because they make a little profit from you. So say Western Union, if it's 55 that day, they may only offer you 54, and they take that 1 peso per dollar as an extra little bit of bonus money for them. So actually you'll save money by doing it through setting up a bank account. So if you're going to build a home or buy land and make any major purchases, it does make sense just to open up an account here in the Philippines, but make sure it's affiliated. So other than banking, which is, a pretty major thing, while you're still in your home country, you have to sell off all your assets. So let's assume that you went back and forth to the Philippines several times. It's for you. You're ready to rock and roll. So we started leasing our vehicles, I think about 6 years out. We sold our cars and started leasing. because we didn't want to be tied to a vehicle or leave it in the United States, and then it's just going to depreciate year after year. So we started leasing vehicles so we could just turn them in and walk away from them when it was time. We prepared our home for sale. So I think it was 2 or 3 years out. Wilma and I actually made a bucket list or a honey-do list of all the things that we think we needed to do to our home just to make it more approachable and sellable. So when it got time to put the house up for sale, our list was complete. So the list wasn't that long. It was maybe 20, 30 things, right down to, a few months before we did that black coat on our driveway just to freshen up the blacktop, things like that. All little things just to sell the home, because if you are going to sell your home and it's part of your master plan to move to the Philippines, and then you put your house up for sale, say 12 months or 6 months before you want to actually move, what happens if it doesn't sell?
Yeah.
I mean, that changes the game. Do you really want to move to the Philippines and let your house sit idle at home, waiting for it to sell? And you may need the proceeds from that sale for your infrastructure or your setup money. So, you have to think about all those things. I got to sell my car. I have to sell my house. What about all your furnishings? All your stuff that you do not want to bring here.
Yeah.
You need to start thinking about, like we did, putting major things up on Facebook Messenger and starting selling things a little at a time. And then we had yard sales. We had several yard sales, and we happened to do it at my sister's home. So we would, load up our truck and take things over and then start dwindling down. So when it came time to actually move, there wasn't very much left. And we sold 99% of our things.
Through
Facebook Messenger.
Market.
Yeah, Facebook Marketplace. And then I think we had 3 or 4 yard sales.
Yeah.
And they really sold through. We only had a few things left. Now, I was lucky. I was able to store my things at my sister's house, but I didn't want to move to the Philippines and leave a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
So, we were really working hard to dwindle everything down. There was only a few pieces left, and then we sold them right after we moved and was able to clear out everything. So you need to start thinking about that. You got to have that plan where, you just don't want to put your house up for sale 3 months before you want to move and start selling things. You really need to start going backwards, at least a year or two, and start thinning things out because we wanted the least amount of stress as humanly possible. We didn't want to have to worry about, cars or selling the house or selling the couch. We didn't want to have to worry about those things. So, we kind of dwindled things down. There was no paintings on the wall.
No.
This it seemed like every month things was, that we owned was getting less and less. But you need to definitely think about that. Another thing to think about, because we had to, was do you have any debt? We wanted to move to the Philippines with 0 debt. Now, not everybody can do that. I can understand that. But remember, we had a 10-year plan. So we made sure that our lease would run out, that our house was sold and the mortgage that was left was paid off. And then we didn't have any loans for anything else other than normal credit card debt. So we made sure that part of that master plan was to pay down the credit card debt and have it at 0 well before we moved here. Because again, you don't want to move here and have to be thinking about thousands of dollars of debt at a relatively high interest rate. And you have your nest egg of money, but every month you're paying off either a loan or credit card debt. So my recommendation is do your best, have the plan that you're making long enough to include paying down all your debt. The only bills that we had when we moved to the Philippines was a $10 a month Netflix account.
Yeah.
That was the only reoccurring debt on our credit card. And then, you know, now that we're here, we have like Spotify and things like that,
Yeah.
that we have a monthly payment for. But I remember we would always laugh and say, you know, we're keeping our Netflix, it's $10 a month. And that was the only debt that we had. So again, retirement's all about being stress-free. If you have lots of debt, you know, maybe it's not time to retire.
Yeah.
Extend that plan out a few more years to get that debt paid off, because when you move here, you really don't want to be worried about anything. You just want to just concentrate on, you know, the task at hand here and enjoying your life. So that was basically how we handled things.
Yeah, pretty much.
We had a 10-year plan. We did everything we could to have that nest egg saved. We had no debt. We had our house ready to sell. We put it up on the market early enough to sell before we moved. We leased cars. We had our banking, you know, basically arranged. And we also made sure that the bank that we were going to choose in the Philippines was indeed affiliated with our bank in the U.S., which all we had to do was sit down with the bank manager, which we did, you know, a year out and had that conversation. You know, we did some real specific things too. That's in that how to transfer money. So, you know, we're not going to get into that now, but we just wanted to share you know, episode 3 of that 10-year wind down, if you will, in our home country. You know, we had our spreadsheets. Wilma had the dollar figure we needed to get to. We knew what was coming in from our jobs. We knew what was going out from our bills. We knew what our extra was that was going into our fund. So it didn't take long to figure out how many years it was going to take to get there. You know, we did make some sacrifices. It's all about need versus want. You know, we didn't go after the wants. We kind of turned our back on all that and just purchased what we needed because of the ultimate goal of, hey, maybe we're sacrificing now. And for me, it was age 45 to 54. So those years we sacrificed to be able to have a big enough nest egg so we could enjoy ourselves from 55 on, because we have to be able to float our money until our retirement kicks in. So these are all things to consider. You should do the same. Take your time. Don't make any rash decisions. Really sit down. The more you plan, the more successful you will be. With all our friends that we've met throughout the 2 years that we've been here, when we sit down with them and they talk about how they planned it out, they're all very, very specific and exact on how they plan things out. Did they always do things the way we did? No, but there was a lot of similarities. So I think, you know, the ultimate moral to this story is the more you plan, the more successful you will be.